Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome back to We Can Do This. Once again, you are here with me, your hostess with the mostest, Julie Vald, coming to you from wild, wonderful Western Pennsylvania. Yay! And today, like I told you last week, is a great day. I am so excited. Would like to introduce all of you to my friend Dan Ferguson. Him and I have known each other probably a lot longer than what we like to admit.
At least 50 years.
Yeah, we
40. Let's say 40.
We went to high school together, so we've known each other for a very long time. And believe it or not, Dan is very interesting in one of the things that he does for a living. And he went to Slippery Rock College, and then he went on to Pitt for his master's to be a psychotherapist. And this love that he's come to do now is something that he came to through that. And from one of the loves that we both have is through our feline friends. He loves cats, and I've told you that I have my 5 little furry friends. And I invited Dan here today because I wanted him to kind of explain, how he got started and what he did for a living and how it kind of morphed into turning it over to our pet friends and helping them out. We think about and we talk about how people need therapy, and we always encourage each other if you need help to get therapy, but we forget about our furry little friends. When you look at them, each one of them has their own unique personality, just like humans do. Well, I am going to let Dan share with you a little bit of his history and how he came to that love and his passion and what he does now and some of the animals he does it with, and to share that part of his experiences with us. So Dan, go for it.
Well, my love of animals goes all the way back to childhood, actually. My very first cat was Tiger. I was 2 years old and got him as a birthday present. And unfortunately, it was a traumatic time in life. My parents were going through a divorce, and Tiger got lost in the shuffle, and he and I separated. But I never lost my love for animals. And when I was at one of the lowest points in my adult life in 2005, I realized that I needed something to hold on to. And my family was supportive enough to help me find a kitten who was 12 weeks old. Her name was Samantha. She'd be 18 years old, 19 now, going on May 4th. And we connected, and I'd never, ever rescued Samantha. Samantha rescued me completely, 100%. And it took me just a short inkling of time to realize I couldn't even keep a roof over my own head at the time, and I wasn't feeling like I was at my best. But she made me my best, and she made me want to be my best. And she brought me to a point where I was able to bring her out in her best.
Yeah, and I think, and I've mentioned this before, we go to work, we have long days at work, and we have bad days, horrible days, but when you come home and you see that little furry face that's staring at you, and they don't judge you, they love you for who you are, they're just looking at you like, oh, you're home, give me a treat. They keep it very simple, and they love you unconditionally for who you are.
Those are 2 key words: simply and unconditionally. And that is the true love that any real pet will give you, be it a cat, a toad, a dog, a horse, a pig, whatever you want, whatever you connect with. When you feel that unconditional love and that connected love to the point where your souls are connected and you look out for each other, that's when you know you have a soulmate.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. Now, there was a point though where you were a therapist for humans, but you had Samantha, as kind of your soulmate there to keep you connected and grounded. And then at some point, you retired, and now you've moved on to you are now a pet therapist. And talk a little bit about that, because I find this pretty fascinating, because some of the animals that you do are not typical animals that you'd think.
Right. I have learned through my love of Samantha, my cat, that loving unconditionally goes both ways. And we not only have to love those that we care for, but those who care for us, be they humans, animals. I've worked with clients who have had pigs, they've had horses, they've had dogs, they've had toads, um, they've had reptiles that they love and who love them. And you can actually see that bond between two living beings when they're connected that reach you at a level that no material thing can, be it money, a car, a house, clothing, a job. There's no descriptor that can define us as a human being that can define us better than an animal, a pet, a connection, a soulmate that loves us.
Right, exactly. And well, and when you're talking about pet therapy now, of course, with a human, you're talking about talking.
Right.
Okay, so animals, they talk to each other, but we don't speak their language. So when you're doing your pet therapy, you know, and you do it with cats, you do it with dogs, you do it with a pig, and these people really care so much about their animals that it's like you're caring for another human being. And it's but how do you, you know, like as humans, we know that there's something wrong with our pet, but we can't understand them. We don't know what they're feeling because they can't tell us. So how do you approach a pet and you listen to the owner say, okay, this is what I'm seeing from my pet? How do you know what therapy to approach with that animal?
Very well said. And just replace the words animal with human. What's the difference? We both feel. It's not about what we're feeling from, with, or for. It's about the feeling. And where is that feeling? It's in our heart.
Right.
Doesn't matter if it's you and me as two human beings or me and a cow. If we feel something, we see it in our eyes, we feel it in our hearts, and we feel it in our energy.
Yeah.
And that's where the tie is. And it may sound corny to most people, it may sound immature. It's not, it's genuine. It's the true feeling of one living, breathing being to another.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what that being is.
Yeah.
But the fact that we're both breathing being embolisms in society, that's what connects us.
Yeah. And it's just a matter of connecting with them in a different way.
Exactly.
And you know what? We've got some comments here in the chat, and it is from Jason. Howdy, Jason. How are you doing? He's one of my biggest channel fans. I hope you're doing great today, Jason. Thank you so much for joining us live. And JoJo says hi, and I know who JoJo is.
JoJo is one of Jason's biggest fans.
JoJo.
She is a 17-year-old cat who has shared her life with Jason. And talk about two loving human beings who understand and get each other. It's not about speaking human words. It's about speaking spirits and souls and learning what trust is and what meeting each other's needs are. That's what we lack in human companionship sometimes. We try so hard to outthink, to outsmart one another, that we lose the fact that just feeling each other's energy, each other's needs between us, it's the most powerful, beautiful thing. And JoJo and Jason share that.
Yeah. Well, and I have to go, and I'm gonna give everybody an example here, because when Dan told me he was doing this as part of something that was his passion that he loved to do, and he really has a good connection with pets. I was asking him about one of our cats named Bruiser. And Bruiser is now 11. And the problem is that Bruiser, this poor thing, has been scared of his own shadow since the second, even before he came into the house. We adopted him from outside. And this poor cat is so afraid of every sound, every movement, everything. And, we have tried, we are loving. We've finally gotten him to the point now where he's cuddling and he has a great purr, but it took a long time for us to get there. And I actually asked Dan about that because, I wonder, all those years ago, what could we have done differently to maybe bring him out of his shell and to make him more comfortable earlier on, when he was younger, so that he wouldn't have felt so tortured and we wouldn't have felt so horrible all these years with him being so scared of the world.
Again, a very key word was tortured. You never tortured him. And that's what brought him out. He needed his time and his space, just like in human relationships. We need our time and our space to learn to trust, to develop, to grow. And they're never, ever on the same scale even. We're always one up and one down. And that's the beautiful thing about relationships, be they human relationships, human animal, anything. It's learning to trust and learning not to cross the threshold when you know it's not safe. And if we learn to watch our animals, be it through their eating, they're using their litter box, going to the bathroom outside, playing with their toys, whatever, they'll send us signals if we choose to stay alert and in tune. And it's truly about a choice. Do we choose to learn to respect them the way we expect them to respect us?
Now, and I have to tell you, because you just told me this today, and this just really intrigues me. We all have pets, inside pets, whether it's a dog or a cat or a fish or salamander or whatever. But I have to be honest, you really intrigued me today when you said you actually have someone that really cares so deeply for their pig. Now, and usually, we think of pigs in a very different way. But any animal, no matter what type of an animal it is, you can get a connection with it. It doesn't matter what type of an animal it is, whether it's a barnyard animal or it's a regular house pet or whatever it is. And it amazes me that, and I really think a lot of someone who really feels that deeply for an animal that's not your typical house pet. This is typically a pet that you don't consider a pet. Right. It's really something that unfortunately you're going to have for dinner someday, but they care about this pig enough and have a connection with it and saw that there was something bothering this animal to reach out to you to actually bring you in to help work with this pet, and not just for a couple minutes or a half an hour here or there. There is a lot of time involved in this type of therapy. And over time, I know you've said you've done some of these animals over a time frame. Do you see a natural progression in these animals as you do this therapy?
Most definitely. And again, it doesn't come down to being animal or human. It comes down to soul to soul, spirit to spirit. Are we open, objective enough, and willing to keep an open mind that this little breathing, living object is just equally as important as we are, or as our offspring are? And to some people, I'll give it to you folks out there right now. You could be saying you're crazy or nuts. They're animals. They're meant to be bred, to be fed. I can't argue that because I won't go into that linear of a definition at this point. But to know that when you can have an emotion for one living, breathing thing, and that he or she has that back for you, it truly becomes about trust and respect. And I think that's what we as humans often lose in relationships.
I know, and we talk about this on my channel here. How many I've talked about, being kind to the unkind, and work-life balance, and all these different topics of struggles that we have during the day with other humans. But animals are a very unique part of our lives. They can be that part of a therapy that we don't even realize that we're getting. They're there for us no matter what. And they become part of our families. They become, in my case, I never had any children. They're my kids. They're my children. I adore them. I take care of them. I give them medicine and they hate me for it. The whole thing. It's a connection, and they have emotions too, whether people believe it or not. I have seen animals tear up. They can feel when you're sick. They know when you're sad. They have a very good ESP about them when it comes to connection with not only other animals, but I think with human beings as well.
I agree completely. And I can't overstate that enough. Who are we to believe that we are so grandiose that our living breath, our being, is greater or more important than an animal's? Who gives us that right? I won't go into religion, I won't go into theology, but think about it even from a scientific standpoint. What makes us better than them, or they better than us? We both breathe the same air. We're living in the same environment. We experience the same deficiencies, efficiencies, whatever they choose to be or whatever they are. We just have to learn about respect and learning that, in the grand scheme of things, folks, as human beings, sometimes we're not all that important. And that's very harsh and very hard for some of us to understand. But sometimes that dog on the side of the road who's looking for food, or looking for a place to cuddle and warm at night, is just as important as the homeless person across the street in front of the church.
Yeah. And I think that's why we adopted the cats that we have from outside. We saw them outside, wintertime, cold, they didn't have a safe place to stay. They weren't warm. They needed help, and what we see today, a lot of times humans don't even want to reach out to help other humans. And if you have it in yourself, and I'll put this out here, I know times are tough, financially for all of us, and they're going to get a lot tougher, but we're in this together. We talk about this. That's what this channel is about. But if you have it in your heart and your budget, I beg you, please go to your local humane society, adopt a pet, adopt a cat, a dog, a gerbil, whatever it is. And I promise you that a pet is going to bring something to your life. They're going to bring you happiness and joy, and they will bring you unconditional love that I know a lot of times we can't find anywhere else in life. And I think you will not regret any moment if you are able to bring one of these pets into your home. You will not regret it. And I promise you, you will get it back tenfold from them, the love and the care that you are willing to give to them.
Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." The best individual, the best breathing being that can teach you that is an animal. They're not inferior to us.
Right. Well, and you've said too, they don't judge.
They don't
judge. They don't have an ego. They don't judge us. As humans, we judge each other. We've got, real big egos, but they don't have that.
And what a beautiful lesson we can learn from them. not to judge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to give value or opinion to another person, level, or being, just to be present.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
just to feel each other, feed each other, love each other, and warm each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Dan, I want to thank you for coming on today. This has been a blast, and it was so good to do my very first live broadcast guest, having you as my guest. I am planning on having other guests in the future, but to do this topic with you was especially wonderful, and I've loved every minute. And I hope all of you out there did as well. And before we leave, a couple things. Please remember to hit that subscribe button and hit that like button below, because then you'll get notifications of when I will be going live, which for right now has typically been on Saturdays, 4 o'clock Eastern time. Thank you all for being here. And as I always say, we can do this. We've got this. I can and I will. And we are going to continue to do it. So until next time, I wish you all the best and take